What's going on, everyone? So, according to Woj, the Nets plan to rebuild their roster around Mikal Bridges this offseason. Now, personally, I don't really understand this idea. I really don't understand the direction. I don't really know what the plan is for the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, they just fired their head coach, Jacques Vaughn. So, they're going to need to kind of correct that. We'll see what happens with Ollie if he's able to step in. Maybe they go with the intern route again and promote him to the full-time head coach. There were reports that Mikal Bridges was unhappy with the offense that Brooklyn was running, which is understandable. I mean, they're not a team that's putting up a ton of points, to put it lightly. But Mikal Bridges, look, I like Mikal Bridges a lot. I think he is a very fine player. He's 27 years old, 6'6", 7'1" wingspan, solid two-way player, versatile scorer, a guy that can go get you 30 on any given night. Is he the best player on a championship contender? No. Is he the second best player on a championship contender? Personally, I don't think so, right? I think it depends on who that number one option is. But personally, I think Mikal Bridges is like your third souped up charged best player on a contender. Like if Mikal Bridges is your third option, you're probably a very good basketball team. And so I just think if the plan is to be a true contender and try to right the ship in order to eventually get to the point of contention, I personally think you're in your best interest to just hit the reset button. There were reports that the Brooklyn Nets were offered 4 first-round picks and young players for Mikal Bridges, and they turned it down. Why? Mikal Bridges isn't worth 4 first-round picks. Again, I like Mikal Bridges a lot, but he's not worth 4 first-round picks and young players and all these assets. All right, maybe 2 firsts. And granted, it depends on what the firsts are. Depends on, what because not all firsts are created equal, right? If they're all like heavily protected or they're all late round picks or something, then maybe I could see that. But still, I mean, 4 firsts is still 4 firsts. Still a lot of picks for a guy, Mikal Bridges, who, again, I think is an excellent player, but he's not this like super elite. Like, what is he? He's not a top 20 player. He's not a top 25 player, in my opinion. Is he even a top 30? I don't think. Like, where does he rank amongst the top players in the league? Right? Like this season, 54 games, he is basically the number one option, right? I think we can all agree that he's the guy currently on the Brooklyn Nets, and that has led Brooklyn to being basically a bad basketball team. They are currently out of the play-in. They are sitting at the 11th seed and sitting at 21-33 on the season. They are 2.5 games back of the 10th seed Atlanta Hawks. You have him as the number one option, averaging, will be nice, rounded up to 22 points, 1 steal, half a block, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, shooting 83% from the foul line, EFG of 52.8, shooting 50% from the field on 2 attempts, which is good efficiency, 37% from 3 on 7 attempts, which again, pretty good, and he's averaging 17 field goal attempts per game, and he's giving you that. Last season with Brooklyn, again, as the number one guy, averaging 26 points per game, and was taking 2 more attempts, right? Again, he's an excellent two-way guy. He's not a number one guy. He's not. Now, maybe you could go and trade for a guy like a Donovan Mitchell, right? Donovan Mitchell, he wants to be in New York based on reports. Do the Knicks actually try to pursue him if he becomes available? Do the Knicks really want to go that direction now that they've traded for OG and, they've gotten Alec Burke and Boyan and they have all these picks, and it kind of seems like they're gearing up for like that big fish to really kind of put this team in position to go win and compete for championships, a Joel Embiid or like a Giannis or something like that. So if the Knicks are like, you know what, we're cool on Donovan Mitchell, like pairing Brunson and Mitchell is probably not the best course of action. Could the Brooklyn Nets kind of get in play on that? Right? Maybe give up a couple pieces. They have several draft picks. They could be in a position to where it's like, okay, well, we could go make a push for that. But even then, does Mikal Bridges and Donovan Mitchell, is that a duo that is winning a championship? Is that a duo that is a contention duo? Like, where would that duo rank? I don't even think it'd be in the top 10 amongst duos. Again, I like Donovan Mitchell a lot. I think he's an excellent player. But is he a guy? There's questions about him being a number one, right? And so I don't know. Like, could it be like the step in the right direction? Right? It's like, okay, you get you have Mikal Bridges, you get Donovan Mitchell. Now you're just looking to kind of fill in the gaps there at that point. But it's like, what are you giving up? Right? They have a handful of picks that they could use to, go and position themselves. They got to figure out the coaching situation. Like, are they going to promote Kevin Ollie? Right? He's stepping up as the interim. They just fired Jacques Vaughn. So, like, it seems to me like Brooklyn is in this place of influx. And yeah, maybe let's say you do land a Donovan Mitchell. Okay, at least you're headed in the right direction. But like, how long does it take you to get to contention status with Mitchell and Bridges? Because, like, I'm not saying 27 is old, but it's not, like, by NBA standards, it's not incredibly young either. Right? And so let's say you do land Donovan Mitchell. Let's just stick with that. So now you got two guys that'll be next season 28 years old. They have maybe 5 years of like top level players. If it takes you like 3 years to get into contention status, at that point, it's like, I don't know. What are you trading? What are you giving up? What do you have of true value? Right? Like, Cameron Johnson, I think definitely could get you a nice return. Because again, let's say Mikal Bridges is off limits. It's the one guy that's off limits. Cam Johnson, I think you could probably get a pretty solid return from various teams. I don't know if you get what you'd get for Mikal Bridges, but I think you get a solid return. Beyond that, it's like Dorian Finney-Smith. Maybe you could get a first for him. They wanted like 2 firsts. Apparently, they were offered 2 firsts and turned that down, which again makes zero sense to me. If the reports are true about the Brooklyn Nets and they were offered 4 firsts for Mikal Bridges and 2 firsts for Dorian Finney-Smith and they turned that down, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, again, bad organizations are bad. Right? You got it wrong with the coach. It just seems like Brooklyn just keeps making the wrong decisions. Right? So what does their teardown look like? Do they basically tear it down to the studs outside of Mikal Bridges? Right? Do you trade a Nick Claxton, which I think you'd actually get a pretty solid return for Claxton because he's, 24, but he might actually be a nice piece to keep. So, like, let's say you keep Claxton. Let's say you keep Bridges. Let's say everyone else is up for grabs. Right? Like, what can you get for Cam Thomas? Like, Cam Thomas is definitely a solid scorer, and it's kind of like, what can he become? Right, from a scoring standpoint, but like, what are teams really going to offer and be willing to give up for that? Maybe like a Dennis Schroeder, you could get something for. I'm like, who else? Again, who is? I'm trying to think of like who of real value is there. Cam Johnson is probably it. It's not like Brooklyn has a bunch of super desirable players that teams are going to be lining up to get. Dorian Finney-Smith, Dennis Schroeder, and Cam Thomas, and Cameron Johnson are like the names that come to mind that I think you could get something for, right? Ben Simmons, him being a $40 million expiring, maybe you could get something nice for him. I don't think you're not getting a star, you're not getting anything like that, but maybe you could get like a team that just needs to like kind of clear some salary or, needs to offload some stuff. But then you're taking back stuff in order to, you're probably taking on long-term contracts to unload Ben Simmons and maybe get a first or something, right? It's just, what direction are you going? Right? Like, because to me, And again, this is just me. Maybe you completely disagree. And if you do, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments. But to me, trade everybody. If you can get 4 firsts for Mikal Bridges, 2 firsts for Dorian Finney-Smith, which again were reported, that's 6 firsts right there. Can you get 3 firsts for Cam Johnson? I mean, if a team's willing to give you 2 firsts for Bridges, so can you get 2, 3, and 4? Can you get 9 or 10 firsts for all your pieces? Right? Maybe you could even get a first for Cam Johnson, right? Or sorry, Cam Thomas, mixing the Cams up, right? Maybe you get a first, even if it's a late first for Cam Thomas. Like, keep Claxton because he's 24, so he still has a long time, long upside, and just hit the reset button. Because what's your other alternative? You're going to build around Mikal Bridges. Okay. So let's say it takes you 3 years to really build a half decent, let's say best case scenario. Let's say they trade, Cameron Johnson, Cam Thomas, 3 firsts, and whatever, a Ben Simmons, right, to the Cleveland Cavaliers, because you have to match salaries, you have to get salaries, right? And you do land whatever, right? You land Donovan Mitchell and whatever pieces you need to kind of match salaries at that point, right? Okay. Now what? Now you're basically all in on Bridges and Mitchell, which is probably the 15th best duo in the league. Are you even a playoff team at that point? Like, I'm not trying to Donovan Mitchell would be great with Mikal Bridges, right? You add Mikal, you add Donovan, you got a solid foundation there. If you can keep Claxton, right? You got Claxton, Bridges, and Mitchell. You got a pretty good offensive, defensive foundation. Maybe you keep Dorian Finney-Smith. So now you got, at least like your point guard, your 2 guard, your 3 guard, and your center. You're just trying to find a power forward at that point, right? Maybe you could work something out to go sign somebody or whatever, right? But again, where does that team rank? How good is that team? Let's say maybe you're a playoff team, but who are you surpassing? Right? Seriously. Let's go through the East real quick, right? They're not better than the Celtics. They're probably not better than the Bucks. We'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if Giannis ends up leaving. But let's say Giannis stays. Not better than the Celtics, not better than the Bucks. They're not better than the Knicks. We'll see what the Sixers do, because they might not be better than the Sixers. Pacers, I might take the Pacers over them. Miami, you can never count Miami out. Cleveland, what does Cleveland look like after the trade with Donovan Mitchell, right? Can they still be good? Can they still be competitive? And then they would have a ton of assets to go get something if they wanted to. But let's say the Cavs do have a significant drop. Bare minimum, the Celtics, the Bucks, the Knicks, the Sixers, the Pacers, and the Heat. So that's 6 teams, I think, I would put over the Brooklyn Nets. Let's say, the Pacers or the Heat underperform. So at least 5 teams are better than the Nets in just the Eastern Conference. Cool. You got Donovan Mitchell and Mikal Bridges. So you get to be the 5th best team. Maybe on a good year, you're the 4th best team. And, again, I think Cleveland right now is better than what that Nets team would look like. And I don't think Cleveland wins a championship this year. I just don't. I think that they would be deeper. I think that they're overall more talented. And I just think the Nets are trying to hold on for hope and trying to be mediocre just to say we tried. And I just don't think that that's the direction that they should go. But Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Are you somewhere in between? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.